360 cameras from the likes of Insta360 and GoPro have been super popular with action cam fans, but for me, I've always found the compromises in image quality and workflow to be a frustration. But now we've got another player. DJI have released their entry into this space, the Osmo 360. It promises 8K resolution, so that should take care of the image quality, but what about the workflow? In this video, I want to focus on what it's like to use the camera and work with the footage. Of course, we'll consider the headline features too. There are loads of reviews on YouTube covering the specs in detail. In fact, the moment DJI's embargo lifted, my YouTube homepage was overflowing with Osmo 360 reviews from channels who were sent the cameras by DJI. So you'll be pleased to know that I bought this one with my own money, so I don't have to say anything that isn't my own unbiased opinion. Now let's start with that 8K spec. Now, to be clear, that resolution refers to both of the sensors combined. So you can export a 4K or 2160p resolution video from your 360 footage. If, like me, you want to combine 360 footage with other 4K action cam footage, that's a pretty essential spec. Insta360's X4 and X5 cameras can also do this, but only at a maximum of 30 frames per second. Whereas this DJI Osmo 360 can hit 50 frames per second at 8K. And conveniently, that's the frame rate I'm using with my action cams. And just for comparison, GoPro's Max 360 cameras record 5.6K 360 footage, also at 30 frames per second. In fairness, GoPro Max has been around for a while now, so I expect it won't be long before they release a new one. Anyway, let's look at my use case, which is motorcycling. I've got a small YouTube channel that I've been working on where I do some tours, vlogs and reviews. And I've tried a few different cameras before settling on kit that really works for me and my workflow. And previously I did try an Insta360 One RS camera. And I had both the 360 and 4K modules for that camera, but I found I didn't do much with the 360. That one recorded at 4K resolution, but that meant I was limited to grabbing 1080p videos from it. And I always thought that the footage didn't look that great. It was okay outdoors for motorcycling, but when I tried it at an indoor karting event, I was pretty disappointed. Add to this the complication of working with the footage, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail. But first, let's have a quick overview of this camera, DJI's Osmo 360. Now it comes with a protective cover to keep the lenses safe, and you're probably going to want to make use of this. And also there's a case that comes with it to keep the camera in. The thing is, these lenses are not user replaceable. DJI do sell some transparent lens protectors, which are inexpensive, so probably worth picking some of those up if you buy these cameras. You can also opt for DJI's Care Refresh plan, but you don't have to have that. They will replace the lenses for a reasonable fee. I'll talk about that in a moment. So let's have a look at the camera. On one side, we've got a sliding battery door. This camera takes the same format of battery as the Osmo action cameras, though it does have a slightly higher capacity. There is a combo kit available where you can get 3 batteries and a convenient charging case. Next to the battery is the microSD card slot, though it is worth mentioning that this camera has got inbuilt storage. 128 gigabytes, with about 105 being usable. And this is frankly brilliant. Not just as a backup if you forget your SD cards, but it means that you can transfer files from the camera to your computer via a USB-C cable more quickly than just copying off of a micro SD card. And speeding up the workflow is a massive plus point for me. You will notice that this door here has a seal around it, and that's because the camera has a measure of waterproofing. In fact, you can film in up to 10-meter depths without any additional case, though there are some cautions in the manual which you should definitely read before you try that. Now there's also a door on the other side of the camera for the USB-C port. This can be used for those file transfers, but also to charge the camera battery. And you can use the camera whilst you're charging it. And that's cool because one of my motorcycles has USB-C power on it, and not having to change the battery is nice, though of course it won't be watertight if the door is open. And charging is quick if you've got a decent charger supporting PD. I went from around 30% to full in about half an hour. At DJI, they claim up to 100 minutes of battery life for 8K 30 recording or up to 190 minutes of 6K 24 recording. I recorded a 36-minute video at 8K 50, and the battery dropped from 100% to just under 50%. So these claims seem perfectly reasonable to me. Now incidentally, that 36 minutes of footage at 8K 50 ended up being about 47 gigabytes. So the internal storage is enough to run off a whole battery at the maximum resolution the camera offers. We've got a 2-inch touchscreen on one side of the camera. If you're familiar with DJI cameras, it works in the usual way. The resolution of this screen is 314 pixels by 556, and it has a maximum brightness of 800 nits, which is plenty for outdoor visibility. There are 4 microphones on the camera, and it does have a measure of noise cancellation, but if you're moving along at speed, don't expect to record much other than wind noise. But what a great way to capture a conversation. I'm going to use this camera on my next motorcycle tour to get some off-the-bike footage. Now, I'm going with my dad and my son, so we're having a 3-generational motorcycle ride down to Italy, and that's something I definitely want to capture memories from, and this camera will help. For example, if we stop for a meal, I can just pop the Osmo 360 down in the middle of our table, capture great footage, and hopefully some great conversation. I really like that the camera has a 1/4-inch thread mount on the bottom because that makes it really easy to put the camera on a tripod or a selfie stick. But it does also have the conventional magnetic DJI clip mount. I normally mount my action cams using a Smallrig clamp. These are all metal in construction and really easy to do up tight. And I'll pop a link to these in the description. But no matter how tight you hand crank these things, it is still possible to move it if you apply enough force. Now, I've never had a problem on my motorcycle with the Osmo Action 4, even at high speeds with the wind blast. But this Osmo 360 is noticeably heavier. DJI say it's 183 grams, which is about what we got when we measured it. And it's only about 30 grams heavier than the Osmo Action 4, so I'm sure the magnetic clip would work. But I decided to play it safe and go with this heavy-duty motorcycle clamp that DJI offers. It's pretty easy to fix and feels reassuringly hefty. My only complaint is that it could be a bit longer to improve the view. But you do have tilt and rotation adjustment via an easy-to-use hand adjuster. The mechanism is notched, so once you tighten it up, it is properly locked in position, and the camera didn't move at all on the ride. Now let's talk about what a 360 camera offers and some of the challenges that you might face with the workflow. And I was really hoping that DJI would ace this side of things, but I'm afraid many of the same frustrations do remain. First of all, a 360 camera has 2 lenses and 2 sensors. Each of them is capturing a greater than 180-degree field of view, so they actually overlap each other, and then the camera cleverly stitches them together, and that's how you get the invisible selfie stick effect. And it means that you can scroll around and look anywhere with the camera. Using software, you can select a frame from within your video, or you can animate camera movement using keyframes. You could also upload your 360 footage to YouTube so that viewers can move the camera themselves, either by clicking and dragging, or moving their smartphone or tablet, or by using a VR headset. It is super immersive and it opens up a world of creative opportunities. For me though, I want to combine this footage with other action cams. For example, I've got an action cam mounted to my helmet when I ride, and I normally have a second camera mounted on the handlebar facing back at me. And this allows me to edit videos together where I can talk to the camera whilst I'm riding, but I can also give viewers the forward view of the journey. Adding a 360 camera into the mix would increase the creative options for the edit massively. I could replace the handlebar camera with the 360 and then choose different viewpoints. Or I could mount the 360 camera on a pole sort of out to the side of the bike and get a sort of drone shot showing me riding the bike. But this is where the workflow problems start. All of that footage needs to be synchronized. There are a few ways to do this. In your video editor of choice, you can sync multiple cameras based on their audio. So a couple of loud claps will allow the software to match the audio from the cameras and then sync them up. That's great in a studio, but it doesn't always work when you're in the middle of a ride because of the wind noise and the not wanting to take your hands off the handlebars. I used to film with a couple of GoPro Hero 10 black cameras, and I would make sure that my hand was in view of both cameras and then make like a clapperboard with my fingers. Then I would use that to manually sync the clips together in my editor. Now this incidentally is what the traditional movie clapperboard is all about. You snap the top and you get a visual cue, but you also get an audio cue that can be used to sync everything together. But these days there's an easier way to do this with something called timecode. And the DJI Osmo Action 4 cameras that I now use do support timecode. So before I ride, I reset the timecode on both cameras so that they are in sync. And then when I go to my editing software, which is DaVinci Resolve Studio, it can do the sync based on the timecode. Brilliant. Naturally, I was hoping the Osmo 360 would be able to do the same thing, but I can't find any timecode options in the menu. So if you're listening, DJI, please add this. Hopefully you can do that with a firmware update. I mentioned that I was using GoPro Hero 10 Black, and I chose to switch from those to the DJI Osmo action cameras, partly because my GoPros would occasionally freeze and ruin entire trips, but mostly because of the support for DJI's wireless mic too. And the new Osmo 360 also has this support. I'm sure you've seen these before. You can actually connect two of these transmitters to the camera, and they are just brilliant. Firstly, the transmitter itself is a microphone, but it also has a 3.5mm jack, so you can plug in a small lavalier mic. And I've got one of those wired into my helmet, and I can just plug it into the Mic 2 transmitter, which I then just clip to the strap of my helmet. What that means is I can get clear audio of my voice inside the helmet without having a wire running to the camera. And I can connect this transmitter then to any of the DJI cameras that I'm using. But in addition to that, the DJI mic has internal storage, and you can record directly onto the mic itself without the need for a receiver. Or you could do what I do, and that is connect it to the camera, but also record onto the mic at the same time. This gives you basically a backup copy of your audio. But actually the best part is that you can record 32-bit float audio onto the mic too. And it is easy then to add this audio into our multicam sync in our video editor. Sometimes I have a second DJI mic in the back pocket of my jacket, and that picks up the engine and exhaust noise. I can then add that audio to the sync and then blend those sounds into the final mix. So the DJI Osmo ecosystem is powerful and game-changing for creators like me. Now, I really like the image quality I get from the Osmo Action 4, and from what I've seen so far, the Osmo 360 doesn't disappoint in that department. Take a look at a still frame from a fast ride, and look at the detail that's been captured. This footage is going to blend perfectly with my standard action cams. Now, I shot this particular video with the bitrate in standard mode, so that's not the highest possible, which is 170 megabits per second. And I had the camera in 10-bit color in D-Log M mode. And this means that you've got plenty of color depth for grading your footage or adding filters. DJI provides a LUT that you can download, and you can also switch on the color recovery setting in the camera so that the LUT is applied to the screen of the camera. None of this excellent image quality is particularly surprising, since DJI have equipped the camera with 1-inch type sensors. Now, confusingly, that doesn't actually mean the sensor is an inch in size. It's typically about 0.6 inches or 16 millimeters across the diagonal. But this is much larger than the sensor in your phone and those that have previously been used in action cameras. Larger sensors allow for larger resolutions or for larger pixels for better light gathering capability, or a combination of the two. It means the possibility of better image quality. It's probably worth mentioning also that the Osmo 360 can use either of these sensors in single lens mode, which makes it behave like a conventional action camera, except that you can switch the direction of view mid-video. I can even do it with motorcycle gloves on by pressing the function button here. And the record button is also easy to access. And if you have the quick shot mode on, just one press of this will power on the camera and start it recording. As you can see, boot up time is pretty quick. That is a great feature. Another killer feature is that in single lens mode, you can shoot 5K footage in a full 4:3 aspect ratio or 16:9 at up to 60 frames per second. But if you drop the resolution to 4K, again, choose either 4:3 or 16:9 and select ultra wide angle, and you can take this all the way to 120 frames per second. Now, naturally, if you're shooting in single lens mode, that means you can just bring the footage straight into your video editor of choice. But it's not quite so straightforward with 360 video. DJI have provided a plugin for Adobe Premiere, and that's great for Premiere users. But let's hope they're working on the same for DaVinci Resolve and Final Cut Pro. I mean, frankly, it's daft that 360 editing hasn't been built into these editors by now. DJI do have an app for mobile, tablet, and also desktop. And with this, you can do basic editing, set up tracking, direction locks, and do camera movements with keyframes. Now, it may be early days, and I suspect there will be improvements coming. This software doesn't even seem to have been completely translated yet, because we noticed that projects and files seem to default to a name with Chinese characters. The software does all work though, and you can use this to render out your final video. But that's not exactly a quick process. We put our 36-minute video to the test on a 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M2 Max chip. and it took over 41 minutes to render. And if you switch on video noise reduction, that increases to 54 minutes. Personally, I'd leave noise reduction off, and I'd do that in my video editor. But even so, 41 minutes for a 36-minute video is not what you would call quick. I haven't yet tried it on my M3 Ultra Max Studio or an M4 Max. I'd expect those computers to be faster, but it's still not going to be a quick process. And it's an extra step. You'll need a decently powerful Mac or PC to work with this kind of footage, and trying to do it on a tablet or a phone might be a long job. And this is one of the issues I've had with 360 video, and why I largely haven't been using it. I just don't have enough available time for the extra steps, especially when you consider how this works in my multicam setup. If all you're doing is editing one 360 camera, then it is probably possible to do all of that in the DJI app, and therefore it won't make a huge difference to you. But if you need to combine that with other footage, you are going to come up against these slow render times. In order to sync the camera footage with my other action cameras, I'll need to use DJI Studio. First of all, to lock a direction in my 360 video and then render that out. If I want both a front and a back view, I have to do it twice. And there's no time code, remember, so I'll have to then manually sync these clips into my multicam clip in Resolve. Okay, let's say I've done that. Now I can go to do my edit as usual. So I'll cut out all of the bits I don't need, and I'll switch the camera view to cover some of those cuts. But then I'll go back through it and I might choose to switch the camera to highlight something else of interest. And then suppose I think this segment could benefit from some camera movement in the 360 footage. I now have to go back into DJI Studio, find that piece of footage, set up the keyframes there, and then render it out again. That clip then has to be imported back into my video editor, where I will have to manually position it on the timeline. So you can see how this toing and froing and those slow render times will significantly extend the time that I need to spend on each video. And for me, that makes it less appealing to use 360 footage. But of course, it may not affect you at all. So overall, I think DJI has aced this first iteration of a 360 camera, because the video it produces and the combination of frame rates and resolutions is class leading. But there are still some things that need a bit of work, and timecode is a big omission for me. Lots of reviewers have complained about these non-replaceable lenses, comparing this to the Insta360 X5, which does have this feature. In the UK, the X5 is £110 more expensive than this camera, because the Osmo 360 is £410 in the UK. But tariffs mean that the US price is currently around $550, and that happens to be exactly the same as the X5. The thing is, you can buy those lens covers. They're £11 a set here in the UK. But also DJI offer a replacement service. They'll replace a single lens for $25 or €25, and both lenses is $41 or €41. The X5 replacement lens kits are only slightly cheaper than that. Now true, you don't have the inconvenience of sending the camera away, but for me, I don't think the lack of replaceable lenses is a big issue. Though of course I won't object if DJI add that to the next version of the camera. And I really like the DJI ecosystem, particularly the connectivity with the mic transmitters and the convenient battery packs. I've got confidence in them that they'll continue to improve the software. And I have found enough to like about this camera that I was happy to part with the money to buy one. And whilst I don't expect to use it every time I make a motorcycling video, I do think I'll use it more than I ever have before. Now, whether or not this works for you will depend very much on your use case and your workflow. And as always, it's good to watch a selection of reviews before making any purchasing decision. But if you do fancy a camera or any of the other kit I've featured in this video, we'll put some Amazon links in the description. If you click and buy anything, we earn a small commission at no cost to you. It's a great way to support small creators like us. And on that note, thank you for all of your support, your likes, all your dislikes, your subs, and of course your comments. And I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on these workflow challenges. Have I missed something? Is there a better way to work with 360 footage? Let me know, and I'll see you again soon for some more geekery.